your credit, they've looked at your income, they've looked at, your employment and said, yep, you're pre-approved. So that's what that process is and what it means is a pre-approval. Someone's looked at everything. So the, let's see, there we go. It worked. Debt to income ratio, or DTI, is another term that you'll hear a lot in the industry. This is the determining factor on a lot of programs. They have a maximum debt to income ratio that we look at. What that means is your gross monthly debt, or your monthly debt plus your new home payment divided by your gross monthly income. We like to see it, traditionally is 36%. Reality, not so much. We usually see something closer to about 45% of your gross monthly income going against your new month mortgage payment plus all of your additional debts. So that's a very big term in this business. The next thing that you might hear a lot about is mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance typically is required as part of the mortgage if your down payment was less than 20% of the home value. That is on a conventional loan. FHA does require mortgage insurance. It is for the life of the loan. And to get out of that on an FHA loan, you do need to refinance. So the next term is loan to value, or LTV. You'll hear your loan agents spit out the word LTV. Well, the LTV is too high, or the LTV is this. This indicates the ratio of the loan amount to the appraised value of the property or the sales price, whichever is the least. So if your appraised value does come in under the sales price, then your lender is going to use that lower appraised value. The difference between the loan amount and the appraised value and or sales price is also known as your down payment. That particular term was not in this PowerPoint, and I asked my management if they could add it. They said nope. So I'm just letting you know that's your down payment, is that difference in loan to value, and how you make that up with down payment assistance or gift or your own money is how it would be structured. So next term, let me see here. Oh, there we go. So a lot of folks will hear about different types of loans. One of them is a fixed rate mortgage. That means you have the same interest rate for the entire term of your loan. It also means your principal and interest payment portion will not change for that term of the loan. Most of your first-time homebuyer programs out there will not allow anything but a fixed rate mortgage. So do ask your lender if they're looking at a fixed rate mortgage. The next one is an adjustable rate mortgage. So this is a loan with an interest rate that will adjust sometime during the term of the loan. There's several different ones out there. So make sure that you understand when that adjustment does take place. And they do have a cap of how high the interest rate can go over the life of that loan. So do make sure that you know where that is if you do opt for an ARM, an adjustable rate mortgage. The next term is APR. Now this is different than your interest rate. The APR is your annual percentage rate. This is the cost that you borrow, the cost to borrow money expressed as a yearly percentage. It includes the interest rate plus other charges or fees. This is the area where if you're looking for someone who may be quoting you not quite the best deal. Sorry, my dogs are playing in the background, so if you hear dog wrestling. this is where you want to see if someone's charging you a lot of fees. So say, for example, someone quotes you a 3% interest rate today, but you look at your APR and it's 4.5%, you've got a lot of fees in there. So you want to be within a point, but not really that much even. You'll see when you talk with your loan agents that the APR itself is just how much closing costs there are in your loan, and a very good way to catch people if they're charging too much. So discount points. This is interest paid by the borrower to lower the interest rate on your loan. So a point is 1% of your loan amount. So if you have a $300,000 loan and you're going to pay one discount point, you would pay $3,000 in closing fees for that interest rate. Okay. And then there's closing costs. So closing costs, these are expenses above and beyond the price of the property, the loan origination fees, the discount points, the appraisal fees, title search, title insurance, survey taxes, deed recording fees, etc. All of these fees are going to be a part of the loan process, and the closing costs will be in addition to your down payment. Now, if you're looking for down payment assistance, you may be able to find some that will cover closing costs, or have the seller pay a little bit if they're up for that. Right now is not a big market for it, but I do see it occasionally. So these are fees that you will see in order for the loan to be completed. You will also see all of those closing costs outlined on your loan estimate, or LE. It is a document that provides mortgage fees, estimates for borrowers during the application process. So this is a very important document when you do receive it. If you've gone into contract and you receive this loan estimate, look to make sure you've got a good interest rate, your APR is not too far out of whack, and that your loan amount is correct in discussing with your loan agent, but that your cash to close, the very bottom line that says this is how much money you need to do your loan, is on this loan estimate. Okay. The next one is escrow. So escrow or impound accounts let you spread out the costs of taxes and insurance over the life of your loan as part of your monthly payment. I like to call it the impound account more than escrow, because escrow, once you go into contract, tends to confuse the terminology, but they act in the same. They are an independent third place where money is held and then transferred out for the purpose of payments. When you do a lot of first-time homebuyer programs and you also put down less than 20% down, you may be required to have an impound account or escrow account. And to do that when you close, part of your closing costs will be the monies needed to set this up. Okay, any questions? Okay. The next term is earnest monies. So you've gone into contract. Now you're going to put a little bit of money into this transaction, and you have to put together earnest money. This is, I always say, you got to put your money where your mouth is. This is the money a borrower pays to the seller to show good faith that they're serious about purchasing the property. So do talk with your realtor about how much earnest money is a good idea to have. You should have this in your savings account, or if you're going to get it as a gift, make sure that the donor has the right amount of money. One of the other terms that you'll hear a lot about is the appraisal. The appraisal is a report that provides the estimate of the property's value. This is the lender's inspection, if you will. The lender wants to make sure that the home is worth the amount of money necessary for you to purchase that home. In other words, They don't want you purchasing a $500,000 home when in fact that same home meant really only be selling at about 350, 400. So again, that's one of the areas where lenders are very, very picky about it. We really want to make sure that you're purchasing within the market. Another term you'll hear is home inspection. It's a I can't talk tonight, a visual examination of the property to determine its condition and to report any repairs needed for a mortgage. I like this report. It's not one that a lender needs. Some first-time homebuyer programs may ask for it, but I always call this sort of the living, breathing report that shows you how this home works. It'll tell you the age of the roof. It'll tell you what's working, what's not working. If anything needs to be repaired, is it outdated? When I first bought my first home, my husband and I used our home inspection kind of as a financial planning device. We knew certain things needed to be repaired over a certain amount of time. We still, even after purchasing a couple of homes, we still get a home inspection. Very, very important information for you. Now, once you're getting ready to close, all of your conditions are in, the appraisal's in, and you're looking good, you're going to receive what's known as a closing disclosure. The document shows the actual terms and costs of your loan and the projected monthly payments. This should be as close to what you see when you go to sign all of your loan documents at the very end of the loan. At this point, the lender has to verify and certify every fee that is on that report. Some still can change. It's like a recording fee, you prepaid interest. Those things can change just ever so slightly, but a lot of fees really must be very fixed during that particular document. And you have 3 days before you can sign your formal documentation. So if we receive or issue a CD on a Monday, you can't sign your loan documents until Thursday. So there is that waiting period. During that time, do make sure that if you have any questions or something is a little bit different that you haven't discussed, that you talk to your loan agent about it. Okay? And recording. Recording is the formal record of ownership called the deed, which transfers title and ownership of the property to you, the purchaser. So recording is when you get to pick up that key and you can walk into the home, sit down, put your feet up, or grab yourself a glass of water, wine, beer, whatever, juice, and relax. Paint the walls purple if you want. This is your home now. That's what recording means. And now you are a homeowner. And these are some of the major terms that are out there that you are going to hear during the process of the loan. And if there are any questions at this point, now would be a great time to go ahead and answer. If you have any questions, I'll be.
Thank you for that, Susanna. So this would be the perfect time to put your questions in chat. If there was a term that maybe you didn't hear in the presentation, but you have heard that you would like to get clarity on, we can definitely add to the list. Or if there are terms that you thought meant one thing, but now you're hearing something else and would like to get clarity. So this really is an opportunity for us to have a dialogue about the conversation that or the presentation that we just had. So what are you guys feeling? All make sense?
Well, I must have done a good job. It was very, very succinct.
Well, here, let me ask you this, Susanna. You mentioned it. I just want to make sure I understood it.
Yes.
The term that you said you were not able to put in the presentation, were you saying that was around down payment or closing cost?
It's down payment, and I'm still bugging my marketing crew to get that in this particular presentation. But the down payment is a term that a lot of people will hear, and they can often confuse it for cash to close. So your down payment is your difference between your sales price and your loan amount. So if you're going to put 10% down on a $300,000 purchase, that's $30,000. But cash to close is going to be your $30,000 plus your closing costs. So cash to close is going to be greater than your down payment. So these two particular terms, I really want to get in here in this presentation, but they don't have it in there. And I don't know why, because when I talk to a lot of folks, I'm always just saying, you know what, big thing is really pay attention, particularly with down payment assistance, when something is covering a lot of the funds, always pay attention to your cash to close. That's the final dollar amount that needs to be brought to the table.
So guys, I got a $25 gift card and I love that explanation. So whoever can get to the mic first and tell me what makes up your cash to close is a winner. So, and I think that to your point, this is a very important, because in our classes, we don't use the term cash to close. We use down payment as well as, I'm not giving away the answer. So what makes up cash to close? What are the two numbers that will be your cash to close amount when you get ready to purchase your home? Who got that? $25. Target? Okay. So what I heard Susanna say was it is your down payment, which you also hear it's skin in the game, the 3% down, the percentage of the sales price, plus all other fees, which tends to come to be your closing cost. And what a lot of times happens is we're so focused on the down payment that there's little or no time spent on those closing costs. And then many people are surprised that their closing costs can be just as much or very close to their down payment. So there is definitely a distinction. Money that you're putting toward the sales price to let the lender know that when life happens, you're not going to walk away because you've invested some dollars. And many of you, if you're in a first-time home buyer program, it's 3 to 3.5%. And the closing costs are those hard dollar fees, the appraisal, the notary fee, the inspection, the lender fee, the loan fee, all those things, which we always say are a fee for service. Someone did something and expecting payment. So two different expenses that when they come together is cash to close. So for me, that was a gem. So thank you for talking us through that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
So what other thoughts? What still is a mystery? Even though Susanna was distinct in explanation, it's still like, I have no idea what this means.
Or if there were terms that you've heard that are not part of this presentation.
Let's add to the list.
Of course.
I do see something in chat. Let me see if those are questions or comments. Okay. Okay, well, I guess you did a good job.
Yeah.
I guess everybody's going to come to your presentation, Susanna. We say an hour and a half, get it done in 30 minutes. Go on with your day. So I do want to make note that you should, those that registered should have received this presentation. I would definitely keep it as a tool, almost like your dictionary. You may not have the questions now, but as you start seeing these things, it definitely will be a great reference. And you can also share this presentation or review it again when we upload it to our YouTube channel. So thank you. That was quick. That was easy. You got some great information. We'll stay online until everyone drops off if there's other questions, but if not, please, keep these terms close to you, because if you're in the process, they will come up. So thank you for your time this evening.
You're very welcome. And thank you everyone for joining. I know it's, a busy week and it's time to enjoy.
Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, if you guys start dropping off, that gives us an indication that there's no questions and we can go on with our evening. But I appreciate the time that you spent with us, Susanna. It was really valuable.
You're very welcome. Anytime.
So we're going to go ahead and sign off. I'm seeing nothing but great job. Thank you. And as always, we appreciate your partnership.
You got it. Always reach out if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Susanna.
Bye.